I want to do the same thing that I did in the first story. I want to tell you a story, but I want to tell you a story about the story. I have been on a number of Native American cultural tours. It's just something I like to do. The first one that I went on was probably 10, 12 years ago. And it was the Four Corners Native American Cultural Tour. It was co-sponsored by St. Michael's Indian School near Window Rock, Arizona, and the Southwest Indian Foundation in Gallup, Arizona. If you went on the tour, you dealt with Sister Leola from St. Michael's. St. Michael's Catholic School has been on Navajo land since 1903. Sister Leola told you where to be, when to be there, and what to bring with you. Sister Leola ruled the tour. It went from Albuquerque, New Mexico, across to the Grand Canyon and back. You visited Pueblos, you visited Navajo, you visited Hopi, you were at Canyon de Chelly, Cañada del Norte, Monument Valley. We were in Albuquerque. We were in Old Town at the plaza. We had maybe 3 hours of free time. And Sister Leola had informed everyone at 1:15, you will be at this restaurant on this corner of the plaza. We will all eat together. I had been to Old Town a number of times, so I made a couple of circles, talked to a few people, purchased a few things, looked at some books. And when I came back, I noticed that Sister Leola was sitting on a park bench in the plaza in the shade. I thought about leaving her alone so she could just have some downtime, but there was also a lemonade stand there. So I asked her if she would like to have a lemonade. And we had a lemonade. And we were sitting quiet for a long time. And in light conversation, she asked what I did in Tucson. And I told her I was a storyteller. Sister Leola asked me to tell her a story. And we had a few minutes before we had to be at lunch. I told her a story that many, many tribes tell. It is normally accredited to the Cherokee people. It is a life lesson between a grandfather and his grandson. Many people know this story as the two wolves. A young boy came to his grandfather. He was very troubled. He asked his grandfather why things were not as they should be. Why would his friends want to do something they knew they were not supposed to be? And why did he feel so bad about not being with his friends? And his grandfather smiled and said, there is a battle going on inside of you. That same battle is inside of me and inside every other human. My son, it is like two wolves fighting. One wolf is good. He wants to do the right thing. He wants to walk the good road. And he wants you to lead a good life. The other wolf is bad. He wants to do bad things. He wants to walk the bad road. And he wants you to live a bad life. These two wolves are fighting. That is what you feel. You are feeling their battle, their war, their fight. And the boy sat, thought for a moment, and he asked, Grandfather, which wolf wins? The one that you feed. If you feed the good wolf, you lead the good life. If you feed the bad wolf, you feed the bad life. Sister Leola enjoyed that story, and she wanted to tell it to the children at St. Michael's. So every day on the tour, she would come and sit down by me on the bus and say, tell me that story about the two wolves. Part of the problem is When I tell stories, I never tell the story the same way twice. So I was probably confusing her a little bit. But we got it straightened out, and Sister Loyola knew the story when the tour was over. A couple of years later, I got a letter from St. Michael's Indian School. It was from Brother Charles. Brother Charles was informing me that Sister Loyola had passed. And I wrote a letter back to Brother Charles, essentially telling him what I have just told you. The next tour that I was on, Brother Charles sought me out and sat beside me on the bus, and he wanted to learn the story of the two wolves so he could tell it to the children at St. Michael's. And what I say to people at the end of that story is that Sister Loyola, Brother Charles, the Cherokee people, and I hope that your good wolf wins and that you lead the good life. That's the way it should be.